Hey everyone, so today's video is aimed at international thru-hikers. So if you're American, you can watch it out of curiosity, but stuff here mightn't be as applicable to you. So looking at the Trek's survey of 2018, thru-hikers, they say about 11% of them were non-US, so international thru-hikers essentially. Mostly coming from Canada, UK, Australia, Germany, places like that. So I thought it'd be a good idea to just give a bunch of tips of stuff I've learned so far, at least, on helping people for 2020 and 2021 get their thru hikes together. Obviously, a big disclaimer at the moment, I haven't even set foot on the AT. But I thought it'd be good to share what I've learned so far, getting to this point where I'm ready to go. I could start tomorrow if I wanted to. I'm just waiting. So, the first thing you need to do when you decide you want to thru hike the AT is stop thinking about it until you get your visa. Your visa is the switch at the start. It's yes or no. Hopefully you get a yes and you can proceed on to the next steps, but if you get a no, then there's no point wasting your energy. There's no point wasting your energy until you know what the answer to that question is, if you can get visa or not. So the visa you need is the B2 visa, which is aimed at people doing a sporting activity but they aren't paid for it. And this allows you 6 months of time in the US. What exactly 6 months is, there is no definitive answer on there. Whether 6 months is from say like March 1st to September 1st, is that 6 months, or is 6 months 180 days, 182.5 days? There's no clear direction on what 6 months is. It's up to the discretion of the immigration officer when you land. So they'll give you the departure date when you arrive. So maybe you can talk to them and say, give me the latest possible departure date, because every day could count. You never know. It'd be a pain to have to leave the US before you finish your trip. Like if you're just, say you're 100 miles away from Lake Katahdin or Spring Mountain, and you go, well, my 6 months are up, so I've got to go now. So every day could count. Every day could help. So yeah, that's the most important thing. Sort your visa out. Obviously, every country will have their own different visa requirements, that kind of stuff. But for most people, it'll just be they want an itinerary of what you're doing. Essentially, you'll say, no, I'm thru hiking the AT. The biggest thing will probably be a bank statement or something like that, showing that you have the resources to fund yourself while you're there. I literally just took a screenshot of my bank balance and it's like, yep, there you go. And it was all good. One tip is you could arrange your visa meeting like a day after your payday, something like that, you know. So a day after your payday and the day before you pay your rent or something like that, you know. So you have the full amount of money in your bank account and they can show it. And that can be shown to the officer. Because it kind of makes no sense really, because I showed them my bank balance back in, what was it, October? Yeah, October. And I'm flying out in March. So like 6 months is plenty of time to spend my entire bank balance if I wanted to. But yeah, they just want something to show you that you can support yourself while you're there. So yeah, another thing to note is usually obviously check with your country's requirements, but a lot of them there'll be you can only apply 6 months in advance. So let's say you're flying in March, you can only apply for the visa in October. That'd be the earliest you can apply for the visa. Otherwise it would expire by the time you use it. So what I would suggest is pick like a 2-week period where you say, I'm going to start my thru hike here. So let's say March 15th to March 31st. So that's your 2-week window. And then work 6 months back from that and then apply for your visa then. That's what I would suggest. And before you get your visa, just don't go buying gear, don't go booking flights, don't do anything until you have your visa. Until you have your visa, DT is still just a dream. Once you have the visa, it's all good. So once you get your visa, then you can actually start booking stuff and planning stuff. But my next tip is to expect to pay a premium as an international thru hiker. Obviously, the ATC recommends $1,000 per month when you're hiking. That'll probably be true enough for the same for international thru hikers, but obviously there is a bigger barrier to entry for international thru hikers. We have to fly there, and one of the biggest things, one of the biggest costs I found was gear. And don't get me wrong, you could definitely just buy local gear wherever you're from, but I think it's fair to say that American college companies are now far superior than any other companies out there, hiking gear companies. They're specifically geared towards thru hikers, that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for a Dyneema tent or a Dyneema pack, you're really going to be probably going to be buying stuff from the US. If anyone knows any properly good EU retailers or anywhere else in the world, put a comment below. Share with everyone else. It'd be good to have the stuff. So obviously, if you're buying from America, you need to be paying delivery charges and then customs imports and VAT and that kind of stuff. So there's a additional cost to that gear, which is already pretty expensive. But one tip I've only found out recently, I bought my tent, my quilt and my bag before learning about this, which is kind of a pain, but whatever. I used it for a few smaller items like a charger and stuff like that. But it's called a service called US Go By. And what this does is it gives you a US address essentially. So you order something and you ship it to this US address, and then from that holding facility they can ship it out to you. So why would you do this? There's two reasons. One, if you're ordering a bunch of stuff from the US, you can bring it all here and they will consolidate it into one package. So let's say you bought some shoes, you can ship it there, and actually what they can do is they'll take the shoes out of the box and put it in a plastic bag or something like that, and then consolidate that with, say, a tent and some other stuff and put it into all one big box. And that will save you weight and cost of shipping, that kind of stuff. So it's a good use of service, but it's also a slightly, but it's also another reason why you could use this service, which is kind of a grey area, I would say. And that is that it allows you to enter the value of your item manually. So why is that important? Because the value you enter into this free-form box is the value you will pay customs and import charges on. Now obviously I would not recommend this because it's probably not legal, but you can wrestle with those ethical quandaries yourself. So let's say you bought a $600 tent, which I did, and I did pay the full tax on it because I didn't know about the service beforehand. But let's say you pay $600 for a tent, you could put $100 as the value, then you'd only pay tax on $100. So that's an option if you're looking at saving some money. Obviously I don't think US Go By would tell you that this is what this service is for, but it's there, you know, if you know what you're doing. So yeah, we've gone from that slightly unethical grey area of dodging tax. My next tip would be to learn your history. For me, this is pretty easy. I'm a history buff. I enjoy history, but I think if you're going to visit a country for like 6 months, which is a good chunk of time, I think it's a sign of respect to learn the history of the country. And obviously, we live in a very Americanized world, so we're pretty all familiar with American culture, that kind of stuff. But especially along the AT, you're going to be running through a lot of areas that you're going to be running through a lot of areas that were key in the American Civil War, for example. Like Harper's Ferry, it's got the midpoint of the trail. Like that's pretty much where the Civil War kicked off, almost, you know. And the trail passes near Gettysburg, so I'd like to actually pop off myself and go there if I get the chance. So yeah, I'd recommend just doing a bit of research around the Civil War, particularly for the AT. I'd recommend Ken Burns' Civil War documentary. It's like a 10 episode, 10 hour epic. It's really good. Gives you a good overview of stuff. So I recommend that to anyone attempting to do a true hike. Next tip would be in terms of money. Not necessarily how much money to bring, but how to spend money while there. So I'll be bringing what's called a Revolut card. If you haven't heard of this, so it's an international card. So what this will allow you to do will give you it's a debit card where you could say upload your euros from your home bank account or from your home card, and then spend dollars, and it'll be cheaper. You don't have to worry about just all these transfer fees and all that kind of stuff. And another really good benefit of it is that the app for it's really cool. So you could, if you're just using the Revolut as your, like say, your thru-hiking card, it'll give you metrics on what you're spending your money on, the breakdown of everything, so on food, hotels, whatever, and you kind of see, oh shit, I'm spending too much money on food or too much money on hotels, and can't track that, you know. But also, I would recommend having a fail-safe. So I'll be bringing my standard Irish debit card and my Revolut card, but I'll be using my Revolut card on a daily basis, and my Irish card will be there as a backup in case I lose my Revolut card or for whatever reason. You know, it's always good to have a secondary backup, especially when you're traveling, obviously. So someone from America, they can just phone to the bank and they'll ship out a card. Obviously, if you're calling back home to Ireland or EU or wherever you're from, it'll be a bit more of a pain to get them to ship a new card to you while you're in the US. So having two there will be a nice fail-safe. Another tip I would suggest is don't book your flight too early. Once I got my visa, I was like raring to go, and I was checking the flights. I was like, yes. But I probably booked them a bit too early because my plans changed slightly, and so I had to pay a little charge and to change my flights, change dates, that kind of stuff. So obviously, don't book your flights until you know exactly what your final plans are. And realistically, I'd say the latest you should leave it maybe about 2 months beforehand. But for me, it felt the urge was until I booked the flights, it wasn't real, and so I just wanted to get that out of the way. But I would recommend holding off on that feeling and just be patient until you know for sure what dates work for you. So another tip, if you're planning on using your own phone while in the US, getting a US SIM for example, make sure your phone's compatible with that provider. For example, my phone, Samsung S8, it's unlocked, but the model number won't work on Verizon because they just blocked it because they're Verizon, they'll do what they want to do. So Verizon are pretty much regarded as having the best coverage across the AT. So I wanted to use them, but looks like if I want to keep using my current Samsung S8 phone with the EU model number, just won't work. So I'll have to go with someone else. I haven't decided yet, T-Mobile or Leica Mobile or something like that. But that's something to just keep in mind. And obviously, the other thing to keep in mind is make sure your phone is unlocked. You can contact your operator if you need an unlock code, stuff like that. Otherwise, they'll just reject any SIM. Obviously, you can buy a cheap phone over there, but if you have your own phone and it works over there, why not just keep using that? In terms of insurance, obviously you need insurance to enter the US because of their crazy healthcare system. So the insurance I went with was World Nomads. I looked around for a bunch of different stuff, and I was like, World Nomads seemed really expensive, and I was looking at some other ones where it was really cheap. And I was like, what's the difference here? Why is this one way more expensive? And I was looking at like a 6-month policy on an Irish travel insurance site, and what I realized that in terms of conditions, they were only going to be covering like 90 days of that 6-month thing, whereas World Nomads were covering every day. So I'd recommend World Nomads. I've used them before a bunch of trips and never had any problems with them. And they're like specifically designed towards kind of outdoor adventure, that kind of stuff. And if you wanted, you could add on your tent and bag if you wanted to insure them specifically. But yeah, they'll cover everything you need, and they'll cover everything in terms of healthcare and emergencies and accidents and travel, flight plans. So yeah, I'll be using them, and I recommend them as well. Permits is one of the things I was a bit confused about. I ended up trying to find research, but there's no definitive list I could find. It's like, do I need to apply? Which ones do I need to apply before I get on the trail, or whatever? Essentially, it's pretty simple. The only one you need to worry about before you're on the trail is the Smokies, and this is early enough in the trail that you could probably just apply for it beforehand. Like, print it out the day before you start your hike, and the permit will be valid for 38 days from that date. And you can, once you're in the park, you can use it for 8 days. So as long as you're entering the Smokies 38 days after you've printed the permit, then you should be fine. Everything else, all the other permits, you can get them on the trail or at the national park itself. So you don't need to worry about that. You just figure it out on the way. Smokies is the only one you need to worry about. And you just go to the Smokies website. I'll put links to everything below, all the stuff, and you can have a look there. One other thing I'd recommend is deciding beforehand whether or not you want to go to trail days or not in Damascus. So Damascus Trail Days is a big 2-day festival, I guess. I don't know. People get together and talk about hiking shit. So if you are adamant on going to that, and you want to time your hike to kind of get there, you should work back from that date as opposed to any other date. What a lot of people do is they will just hitchhike to Damascus or back to Damascus, depending on where they are on the trail. And some people just won't go. I haven't decided if I'm going or not. I might do, but I'm not gonna. If you really want to go, I'd say try to incorporate that date into your planning as much as possible. Okay, so they're all the tips I can think of for now. Probably a bunch of other stuff I've forgot, but I'll be sharing all these tips and more throughout the hike and after the hike as well. But for now, hopefully just have some people, if they're just starting out, to think about 2021, and it's like, what the hell, where do I start? This will just give you some direction. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments below or just message me. I'll happily help you out. Be good to get more international thru-hikers out there, you know. Alright, cheers. Thanks guys, all the best. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell, all that good stuff. Cheers.